Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. For this week's project, I'm going to answer a challenge by Richard Findley to do an icicle style ornament, but only with a skew. Now, I like to always take mine to another level, so I did mine with a skew, but I did it multi-axis so that I get a little bit more character to the wood itself with the eccentricness of it to illustrate. So here's my skew project, answering the challenge. It's a eccentric icicle with a skew.
Several years ago, when turning some eccentric magic wands, I realized that a big problem with multi-axis projects is they required high live center pressure. As the project progresses, the wood is thin and bends under pressure and often breaks. After learning Barbara Dill's process, I have updated my process for 3 axes instead of 4. 3 is enough, after all. The complete system requires a disc on both ends. Holes guide the offset. On the headstock, 2 brass pins drive the project and offsets. On the live center end, a single brass pin provides the offset. Since for this project I'm only offsetting one end on the live center, however, later in the process, I realized that I should have used both ends anyway, since I did apply more pressure and the spindle developed a crack. Using both ends minimizes pressure, bending, and breaking. Well, this is a skew-only project to answer a challenge by Richard Findley to turn an icicle ornament. So I will rough this maple round with my skew only, although I would normally use a large wool gouge. It is really the same maneuvering as if the wood is round, with one big exception: minimal pressure against the wood. Until the wood is round, typical bevel writing is not really possible. However, the movement is the same, but with less pressure. There is a controversy whether the skew point is up or down. My answer is whatever you're used to. My point is down. With it round, I can make the first axis shift. My faceplate has holes for 1/8 and 1/4 inch labeled 1, 2, 3, and ABC. This project will only use the 1/8 offset and holes 1, 2, and 3. While roughing, I mentioned not riding the bevel hard. This is also the case now. With the offset, the action is the same with gentle cuts to form a cove. I am done when about 1/2 inch is round with a taper down to that point. Now I have shifted to the second offset hole. Again, with the wood out of round, the skew action is very gentle with the edge nearly vertical. In addition to a cove similar to the first one, I taper a little bit up from the first. I stop the lathe frequently to observe progress. I am observing the ghost image at the top of the spindle, but that is not enough. Here's where I realized my mistake of not using the pins at the spindle end, since I do not have enough drive pressure with the drive center. I do crank up the live center a little, but the spindle develops a crack. No more live center. I worry whether I can finish this spindle. With the shift to the third offset hole, I am still extremely careful with very light tool pressure and minimal live center pressure. Amazingly, the wood survives. Note to self: use both faceplates next time. With the wood back to the original center, I can tidy up the top of the icicle, blending to the eccentric portion, cutting a bead and forming the top. This is nearly normal skew work. I can ride the bevel. I'm still worried about the spindle breaking, but it survives. Finally, sand under power for the top part and hand sanding the eccentric part up through the grits. A little shellac for a finish will make the icicle bright. I touch up the ends with a small sanding disc mounted to the lathe. The drill press is an option, but I prefer this orientation. Since I could not buff earlier, I'm using the triple buff to put a better shine on the icicle. Originally, I had thought the triple buff would serve all my needs, but it is limited by the side-by-side buffs. This completes my eccentric icicle using only my Skew. A bit extreme, but very doable. Challenge answered. Meanwhile, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my website as well as on YouTube. Please spread the word by telling your friends about my weekly videos. I also appreciate your comments and questions. Please wear your full face shield whenever the lathe is running. Are you wearing yours?